pressure's on for President-elect Joe Biden to raise the minimum wage as soon as he enters the White House. So while the president does not have the power to unilaterally raise wages for all Americans, he does have the ability to do so for workers on federal contracts. Remember that, federal contracts. Senator Elizabeth Warren has joined this pressuring campaign as she tweeted, "We need to raise the minimum wage to $15. And the Biden-Harris administration can do that on day one for all federal contracts." Now, also remember that the federal minimum wage right now is $7.25. $7.25. Just keep saying that in your head over and over again. $7.25 is the federal minimum wage in this country, the best country on earth, the richest country on earth, the one that doesn't let people go hungry and not have anything else to actually feed their family with. So, now, going back to 2014, then President Barack Obama, he signed an executive order raising the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour. There was annual increases for inflation for all workers on federal construction and service contracts. So not only just permanent federal workers, but also on these contracts. So the idea here is to build upon that and see what else can come from it to maybe eventually down the road, get this hike to a normal minimum wage being something that people can maybe live on a little bit, which honestly, we can fight over those numbers, what they could be. But before we go to, so one more thing before I get you in this, Cenk. The number of people that are actually affected by this. Workers on these contracts, these federal contracts and subcontracts, do everything from building interstate highways to answering questions on COVID-19 safety measures at the CDC call centers, to cleaning federal buildings, to caring for veterans, receiving VA benefits, to serving concessions at national parks. So while the precise number of workers on federal contracts is unknown, they estimate the number around 5 million. So again, the number of people who now the federal minimum wage is at 10.10 from when Obama was in is around 5 million, and we're looking to see what else they can do for them then. What are you thinking, Jay?
All right, so there's two different issues here. First of all, on Elizabeth Warren's suggestion of raising the minimum wage for at least federal contract workers, no brainer. There's actually literally no argument against it. The beloved Obama did it before to $10, so there's no reason why you can't move it to $15. Biden was part of that administration. There is no technical argument against it. There is no legal or policy argument against it. There's the only reason you wouldn't do that is if you just are conservative or corporate or corrupt, honestly. And it's such a no-brainer that I can't even imagine Biden saying no. I mean, if he says no to this, that means he's a Republican. That's it. Because this is the lowest bar there is. If you can't clear this, just that's it, switch parties, you're a Republican. You're just a moderate Republican. So now in terms of federal minimum wage overall, of course, it appears, and I'll withhold judgment because proof's always in the pudding, okay? But for the moment being, I don't hear anybody from the Biden team talking about it. So if right now, the one that passed in the House, and I gave credit to the House for passing it under Speaker Pelosi, the minimum wage is moved to $15 by 2025. Now, if Democrats win the Senate in Georgia, if they win those two elections, and they have enough seats to pass things in the Senate, number one, the blue dog Democrats, conservative Democrats are going to come in and vote with the Republicans and say, if we're going to pass this, I want the deadline moved to at least 2035. So in other words, we're not really going to do this. We're going to punt the ball for 15 years, and later we'll just re-vote and take it away from you anyway. Okay, so that's a trick that conservative Democrats are planning to play, and I know that for a fact. Okay, now if they lose the Senate, likely Biden will just surrender immediately and do nothing. Okay, now. Terrible strategy. And this is where progressives cannot and will not let it stand. If either way that Biden is president, obviously, and even if you don't have the Senate, you should pressure the Republicans to pass it because it is a thing called politics. They beat you up over things that don't even exist, right? They make up insane charges and call you Marxist, let alone the QAnon insane people with the brain fluids and whatever insane things that they charge Democrats with. You can actually say the truth. Look here, let's talk about Georgia itself, right? You know what the minimum wage in Georgia is? $5.05. Now that's overridden by the federal minimum wage, so they at least get $7.25. You know what $7.25 is? If you worked a whole year, full-time job, $15,000. A year, not a month, a year. It's impossible. How can you live on that? That's the federal minimum wage. If we double it to 15, it's only 31,000. It's barely a wage that you could barely survive on, right? And so now you're not going to say, hey, those Republicans, they won't let you raise your wages. We're trying to raise your wages, and these sons of bitches won't let us. By the way, Rebellion PAC has an ad about that right now in Georgia. Go to rebellionpac.com. You can see the ad, and you can support the ad, because the Democrats won't make the goddamn case. Tell everybody in Georgia, we're going to double your salary if you're getting minimum wage. We're gonna double your salary, and that's true. I think it's true. I just told you never know with corporate Democrats. But if it was true and you meant it, my God, that's minimum wage increase won by 22 points in Florida. It won in giant marches in Missouri and Arkansas. How stupid are you as a Democratic Party if you don't fight on this issue? If you don't fight on this issue, not only are you never going to fight, you're just a Republican.
There's too many ways that you can fight on it. That's the other part of it. So again, even if we're talking about the federal minimum wage and federal subcontracts on this minimum wage, not necessarily across the board with every kind of job, right? So if you're already with the government, you're the president of the United States, and then you can set numbers like 15 on these particular things. Because I'm also worried about the rest of the country, people who aren't, or who don't have a federal job, or at least have a temporary federal job where they'll get these kinds of numbers. It has to become more of a normalized thing. In fact, you mentioned in Georgia, what'd you say it was $5 or so, their minimum wage, but it has to be bumped, of course, because of the federal numbers. But that's the norm there. So if the norm people in Georgia are hearing is different, and $15 is getting talked about in normal conversations, human nature and people who want to survive would naturally go, why the hell am I getting paid $7.25? Even on other jobs, like the pressure has to start from just the normalcy of what's going on in our life. Because the normalcy in our lives right now, as far as money and the way that our government spends it is, we have this defense contract coming up. Okay, trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars. Who cares? We need it because we're afraid. But when it comes to you surviving, living, seeing a doctor, getting COVID, all those things are like, well, it's a little bit too much money. And we've talked about this a million times. But the reason why we've talked about it a million times is because 2 million times they've said that. So we have to keep pushing back on these narratives. And the normal approach should be, you deserve $15. You know why? Because you deserve to go to the grocery store and not go, we can't get that second package of pudding, Johnny, because it costs an extra $1.25. No, we shouldn't be penny pinching on $1.25 if you have a job in this country. It's insane that the normal thought process is that you're working every day of your life and wearing your hands down to the knuckles, but you don't deserve anything better than $7.25. That's saying very little about the constituency that just elected you. And every time it's mentioned, if somebody says, "Oh man, they're talking to a Democrat that's running for office. I'm having trouble feeding my family." They always tell these stories with their sleeves rolled up. Did you say to them, "Hey, Mitch McConnell is stopping you from making that money. Mitch McConnell is stopping you from making that money. Mitch McConnell is stopping you from making that money"? No, we don't say it every time, but they do say Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi. When she has no power, they say that.
Yeah, look, on shoptyt.com, we have a shirt that says, "Mitch better have my money." And I want every Democrat wearing that. Okay, I'll just hand it out for free for elected legislators. Okay, and so if the Democrats don't fight on this, there will be trouble. It will be good trouble, and it will be massive trouble. So there's no way we lay down on this. No way. And if progressives want to lay down on it, I'll fight them too. This is the biggest layup in American political history. If you can't do this, then shut up and go home. We fight, and we fight until we win $15 minimum wage for the whole country. I don't care who controls the Senate. If you can't do that, you're the worst at politics and should immediately be fired.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.